my loves, thanks for returning. I hope this video finds you happy and doing well. As you know by the thumbnail, this video is going to be a 2-day 10-hour wear test over the Bite Beauty Changemaker Supercharge Micellar foundation. So if you're interested, then just keep watching. All right, so you all know I got to get the housekeeping out of the way. I'll have timestamps below, so if you just want to skip right to the check-ins, you can certainly do that if you don't want to hear my little blurb about this foundation. So I'm just going to go ahead and get to it. You can get this foundation at Sephora. It is considered to be one of their clean products, so I do have something to say about that, and I'll get to it in just a second. It retails for $39.50. There are 32 shades, and the shade that I have it in is in T15, and there are 12 shades deeper than this shade. And to me, for this to be a new brand, I think that that is phenomenal. I think that this shade matches me really well, you know, in comparison to all of the other foundations that I've ever reviewed on the channel, which is kind of surprising. It does have a 4.5-star rating out of 430 reviews, which is really good. So it claims to be clean and long wearing with a micellar technology, and when it says clean, I do want to kind of dispute that because it does have fragrance in it. A lot of people might not like fragrance because it is irritating, which is true, but the reason that I don't like it is because companies can throw in other ingredients and let it hide behind fragrance. So that's why I don't like it, because when I see fragrance, I don't necessarily think of something that's irritating, which it can be. I think of all of the other things that they are putting into the fragrance that's just kind of hiding behind that. So in that regard, that would be my only gripe about listing it under the clean section. However, Sephora has their own rules, and you know, according to them, it is a clean product. It does claim to have a medium coverage with a natural finish, and I would say that you get about a medium coverage with a natural finish. So it does claim to be for all skin types. However, if you have dry skin and some of the people that have normal skin, I'm not sure that you would be all that happy with this product. It does claim to have Mackey berry in it, and that is an antioxidant which is supposed to nourish your complexion. And the micellar technology is supposed to be a technology that mimics your skin texture, which is supposed to give you a more smooth and non-cakey look. And I find that to be true. However, my main gripe with this foundation would be how it accentuates all of the fine lines that I have. Typically, when I do a foundation video or review, I'll wear the foundation when I'm talking about it, and I just could not wear it. I am going to return this foundation because of just kind of how it accentuates the lines under my eyes, my smile lines, and on my forehead. Now, while we all have lines, and there's no real way to, you know, just really get rid of them, you know, in my opinion, in regards to just using facial products. But for me, this particular product accentuated those features on my face, and I absolutely do not like that. However, I do like the way that it wore everywhere else. You know, the smooth parts of my face, I thought it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But those benefits don't outweigh the negative, and when you look at the check-ins, you'll see what I'm talking about. If you have oily skin and you mix this foundation with the Urban Decay All-Nighter Spray, you are going to absolutely love it. I found this foundation just to be too drying. I found that the fragrance was just too annoying. Sometimes when you wear a product and after that has a fragrance, and after you wear it for a certain amount of time, it will dissipate. You know, you will no longer smell it. But for the entire time that I had this foundation on, I smelled the fragrance, and it was annoying, mainly because I don't like the way that it smells. And that's not to say that it's stinky, it's just that I don't prefer that type of fragrance. I find that most unfortunate. And you know, as far as this micellar technology that's supposed to mimic skin texture, I think it's good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just let you see what's going on. But first, I'm going to get into the packaging. It comes in a little squeezy tube packaging, and I don't really have a problem with this type of packaging. smudging, and this is how it looks on the back of my hand. It does have like it's thick and it's like a very silky, moussey type of texture. As you can see on one side, I use a brush, and in my opinion, I just kind of feel that it applies a little bit better with a sponge. I found that with the brush, it is a little bit streaky. I would say that it's the brush that I use, but I don't think so, because I think that that's a really good brush that I'm using. But if you are questioning what type of tool to use with this foundation, I would suggest using a brush so it won't be streaky, or you could at least apply it with a brush and then go back over it with a sponge. So as you can see, this is how it looks being applied with a sponge, and I do add a little extra in some of my problem spots, so I'm just going to go ahead and blend it out with the sponge. So after that, I applied my powder, and that's how it's looking, one side with the brush and one side with the sponge. And from there, I'm just gonna go into my wear test. So let's just go ahead and get into the first check-in. All right, so this is my 6-hour check-in, and initially when I first put on this foundation, I thought that it was going to be kind of like not really a dewy foundation, but I really don't think that I thought that it was going to feel as drying as it feels right now. And it may be because I put on the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray, and I used a lot of it. But the foundation hasn't budged at all, like not whatsoever. I didn't have to blot or powder or anything with this foundation. It hasn't broken apart. It really looks the same. I know that there's a lot of light kind of shining on me, but I thought that this would be a good place to do a check-in so you can really see what this is looking like. I don't know how, I have mixed feelings about it. One thing that I absolutely hate about it is the fragrance. Typically when a foundation has a fragrance, I can kind of get over the smell, but I have been smelling this for the entire time that I've had this foundation on. So I'll let you all know at the 10-hour check-in if I can still smell it, but it is just, it's just unbelievable. I smell it over my regular cologne that I put on before I started the day off. But I'm gonna come in closer so you can kind of look. Just excuse my dry, crusty lips. Okay, I'll add some Vaseline or lipstick later, but this is what it's looking like. Yeah, and I'm happy with the shade. Surprisingly, when I first bought this shade, I thought it was going to be on the redder, like too red for me, but it turned out to be a perfect shade. I tell you, the one thing that I hate is this fragrance. This fragrance is really driving me crazy. So yeah, that's it for the 6-hour check-in. All right, so this is my 10-hour wear test, and I have to say I feel like I look like the Crypt Keeper. I use this setting spray to set this foundation, and I shouldn't have done that because it has mattified this foundation down to the core, and it really hasn't budged outside of accentuating the lines that's under my eyes and my smile line. Everywhere else, I think that it looks nice. You'll see where it has worn where I wear my glasses. What else? I love the shade. I really do. I honestly didn't feel as though the shade oxidizes. To me, it didn't. I just don't like how it accentuated my lines, even in my forehead. Okay, well, not as much as my forehead. It's mainly under my eyes and the smile lines. Yeah, I'm just gonna zoom you all in so y'all can see. So this is what it's looking like. When I say that I feel like it has just kind of accentuated my fine lines, it has settled in my smile lines, which, you know, I don't take off a whole lot of points for that. Anyway, they're smile lines. Some people take off a lot of points for that, some not so much. The way that it looks under my eyes, I just don't like the way that it looks. Everywhere else, I feel like has worn pretty decently, I guess. So yeah, I'll see in the next wear test how it does. But this one, after 10 hours, it's just, my main beef is how it's looking under my eyes, how that looks. Because to me, that looks extra bad. All right, so I just don't like how this foundation is looking. I don't like how it has cracked up on my smile lines, and today I've only had this on for 6 hours. I did not use that Urban Decay all-nighter setting spray. Maybe I should have, but it's just kind of doing something funky right here, and I just don't like how it's settling into my lines on my forehead, and yet I still think that it's kind of got me looking like the Crypt Keeper with how it's looking under my eyes. So, plus not to mention the fragrance. So what I will say is that if you don't have a lot of lines and you have oily skin, you have, you know, nice, young, beautiful skin, I would say that this foundation is for you. It's just not, I've had better foundations, especially foundations that wear better after 6 hours. Okay, now with that Urban Decay all-nighter setting spray, it does help it a lot, but without the spray, as you can see, I mean, look at how it's looking. I just had lunch, so that's why I'm kind of looking all wore off and chewed up around the mouth, but I just don't like it. And this is after 6 hours, so it depends how much more that this foundation is going to break down after the 10th hour. So we'll see. So again, this is the 6 hour check. Okay, I'm back with my 10-hour check-in. Actually, it's been a little bit longer than 10 hours because after my first check-in, I just came home, and I'm not even gonna lie, I got into bed and I just kind of relaxed. I wasn't really laying down. I have an adjustable bed, so I was just kind of sitting up, and a few times I dozed off and kind of, you know, laid on my pillow to the side. So it may be a little worn off on the side, and some on my chin and around my mouth, but I noticed that around my mouth it was kind of wearing off after lunch. So but that's not my gripe about this foundation. I don't like how it really accentuates my fine lines, and you all can probably just see it without me even zooming in right here under my eyes and my smile lines. Now, I understand that, you know, some foundations are going to do that. If you have the lines, they're there, but I feel as though this one just kind of makes it more apparent, especially the longer that you wear it. It is, to me, it's a drying foundation. That's even with my normal skincare that has never done me wrong with previous foundations and things like that. It just feels tight, and I don't like that. If you are oily, this would be a good foundation for you, especially if you mix these two together. You will love it. This is a oily girl's dream. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in. All right, so here you have it, and this is the part that I'm talking about. But as far as this part of my face, the part that doesn't have any lines and that's, you know, smooth, you know, and the parts in my forehead that's smooth, I think that it wore beautifully. So would I recommend this foundation for people who are in my age group, who have my skin type and dry skin? For me, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't feel that it works well for me. All right, so yeah, this is my last check-in, and thanks for watching.